Let's see. Orientation lock. That's fine. I don't care. Oh wait. Okay, so I'll just pop in here. Hey everybody, it's Evshrug. I'm just gonna be doing an unboxing today of the iFi entire Zen AIR lineup of products. These are like iFi's new budget line. Let's just pop in here and take a look. I'm gonna angle you back down. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Focus, please. Here we go. Do. All right, and then live chat is on, I hope. Now I also need to grab some kind of blade. I did check the audio. Whoa! And I'm nearly falling here. You guys can't tell. Sorry for that. Vibration madness. Knife. Gotta make sure you pick a good one. All right, so a tiny bit of an introduction. iFi is running a tour showing off their new products here, and I signed up for it. If you go to headfi.org, you can also sign up to be a part of it. Everyone, I think, gets 2 weeks to do this. I have 1 week left because that's how life happens sometimes. But let's pop into this. There should be 4 different boxes in here. And it seems that everyone's opening the top, so I will do the same. And I did try to censor the last person's address to be kind, you know? So hopefully all that tape and jazz is enough. I do want to show that I think this is the box that iFi would, you know, if you ordered all 4 of these, it seems to be straight from iFi. It has their branded tape on it. That's kind of fun. And there should be 4 products in here. All right, so first up, we have the Zen Blue, which is very appropriately like a teal blue color. This is their Bluetooth DAC. And it supports a ton of codecs. So we've got aptX HD, AAC from LDAC, and HWA. HWA, Huawei in China has made their own codec that's basically equivalent to LDAC. Cool thing about that is that you can download an app to add that high-res, almost CD quality codec to your phone, even if you have an iPhone that traditionally only does AAC. If you look for Savitech HWA or LHDC, you should find that codec and be able to add it. So that's kind of cool, even though this is not a, Wi-Fi streamer. The packaging is nice, I think. But let's have a read. So it's a Bluetooth receiver DAC. So this apparently is like a DAC that you can just hook up straight to an amp. Bluetooth 5.1 compliant, that's fine. What I would like to see is if it's a class 1 device, because that usually has a longer range of service. So smartphones, tablets, anything that I line in. Okay, great. And these bits over here. It has Bluetooth and also it outputs in RCA. So interestingly, it seems to output in analog. So this is not just a Bluetooth receiver. It has analog output, so it's Bluetooth and a DAC. So if you have an amp, you might skip the DAC. Nice low power consumption, that's good. And I think it's interesting that the output impedance is less than 50 ohms. Since this doesn't have a volume control, you pretty much need to connect it to a full-on headphone amp or speaker amp, and usually a really high output impedance. Well, no, that's not true. I'm sorry. You want a high input impedance on the amp, and you want it so high that it doesn't matter what the output impedance of this is, so that that it's practically when you have a regular amplifier, you want the load to have close to like infinite input impedance for ideal amplification conditions. But anyway, more importantly though, this is just a Qualcomm system on a chip. It's going to have iFi's programming that would go after it. I don't see listing of what DAC chip it uses, so we'll open this up. Yeah, let's start with this. That'll be fine. I do like the packaging, and I like the kind of like brushwork thing. Obviously, unless you're like me and you store every box, that's not going to matter too much. Nice card. And, oh, so this is interesting. The device itself seems to be kind of like a bone white. There we go. A little bit more light. And you'll see that that's kind of important. Oh, nice. So the last person left on the sticker. I will do the same. But I bet that's like for this whole front panel. It is a satisfying experience when you remove that plastic, but it's a pretty simple front end. You just connect. That's probably the pairing button. There was no mention on the box of NFC pairing. And there's no USB input, but it does have analog out. And a high-res sticker. Woo! High-res means it just can go up, I think it's beyond 20 kilohertz. Is like really, it means that it can produce high frequency. And there's my QR card. And a 5-volt DC adapter. So that's going to be in this side box. Let's see what kind they do. Wow. Wow. Oh, interesting. So it's USB power. Not particularly special, but it's there. And USB power is easy to come by, so that's good. I actually have a battery bank. It's pretty awesome. MQA for a Bluetooth receiver. Interesting. Now, I don't know if any of the products got mixed up between, this is all sent in the tour together, so possibly this might have come from another package, but it's interesting. And I could definitely use Android on the go cable. That's cool, but I have no need for, I have the big one. I like this. This is Apple's camera connection kit. Back in the day, you had to get a camera connection kit just to be able to do any DAC functions. But I like this one because it has power, so I can charge my phone. And it also makes me able to power some devices that don't run straight off of the rather limited iPhone output. So that's interesting. We'll keep that together. Setup is as simple as power and RCA and pairing. Great. Zen stuff should be simple, right? So we've got that. Next up, let's look at the Zen Phono. Well, no, let's do that one last. the Zen DAC. Now this, for a lot of people, will be the heart of, this is potentially a standalone option, right? So the Zen DAC does have a built-in amp. So if you were only going to buy one thing, it could be this, because it does the headphone duties and it does the digital to analog conversion. So pure DAC to use with amp and speakers if you want. And it works with Macs and smartphones. Game consoles, interesting. So I want to see if that works with a PlayStation 4. I don't have a Nintendo Switch, but as long as it's a USB audio class 1 device, it would work with the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. However, it doesn't have a ADC, analog to digital converter, for the microphone. So only single player or non-chat type of scenarios. And we have a nice look at the specs there. Output power at 300 ohms is 36 milliwatts. So that will be interesting to test. I will be using, when I do my review, I'm going to test some light loads and some higher ohm loads. But the sensitivity is high on all my stuff, so we should be all right. That's what really matters. We got another quick start guide. This one is also one page and very non-threatening. Hope it looks coppery like that. That's cool. Huh. Volume knob's different. Just interesting. Might be some kind of highlight because they, gray out stuff. But maybe originally it was supposed to be kind of a coppery look. We've got another warranty card, another power supply. Let's see if this is also, it looks like it's also, they have a USB cable and a DC, a 5-volt DC in, which USB would be enough for that. Let's see if it's just 2 USB connections. Okay, yeah. So they have a separate USB for power and for data and music. So that means that the potentially they might have included this cable with the power connector completely disconnected. So that way you don't have any noise from the power bleeding in to the signal. That could make a good difference. And iFi loves to do little things like that. Cool. I am alive. I'm like Johnny 5. I'm doing audio reviews real quick. How you doing, Humble? I've been playing PlayStation 5 and a iPhone game that's not very satisfying. I'm trying to get back into PUBG. All right, so this is the DAC. It's a nice kind of light heather gray. I like the pattern on it. And what do you know? The knob is kind of gold. That's neat. I believe it uses, I don't know if it says it on here, but I believe it uses a digital volume dial instead of an analog potentiometer, which means that if you have the volume turned really low, or if you're using really sensitive in-ears, you won't get one ear being louder than the other, which is very important for soundstage. Especially as a gamer, you want soundstage to be as good and realistic as possible. And it has a Burr Brown DAC chip. And it has MQA support. All kinds of things, as you can see there. 12-month warranty. Oh, we got little caps for the RCA. Interesting. I wonder if those got lost on the blue. All right, moving right along. Put that there. So that's the potential standalone, all you need to get started model. Cool. I'm getting organized, but I'm also making a lot less space on my desk for me. And then this is the Zen can. So we've got blue, green, and pink. It's like flamingo. So apparently the Zen AIR is the Zen signature amplifier, but just in single-ended. So instead of having a amp section dedicated symmetrically for the left channel and then another one for the right channel, you've got one that's more typical of an amplifier. And apparently it's also kind of the descendant and derived from the design used in the iFi, the iCan Pro, the high-end one. So it's better than the original iFi Zen can, but it's closer to just like a single-ended version of the signature. And we'll see if the knob is gray or gold. A quick look at the back. It kind of throws me off. So I would think that I would just flip it like this, but apparently you're supposed to flip it like this to get it up right side up. So we have 3 analog inputs, dual RCA and 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So that means you can have one connection to a DAC and another connection to the phono amp if you want to do the full stack. Symmetrical channel layout. So that used to mean balanced. That's kind of interesting. 3 gain settings. I want to try out the X Bass. I hope it's not just an EQ to make the highs sharper and louder, and not just crossfeed with that. If it has some kind of HTRF, that'd be cool. But in general, that should help kind of things be a little bit less in your head and a little bit less hard pan to left and right. Because one truth of music and audio is that it's mastered for speakers playback, binaural stereo. So it plays back in speakers sounding good and kind of dimensional. But in headphones, you got your head in between the left and the right channel, so everything just kind of is centered in the center of your skull. And I think that's weird. I think it's more natural to have at least a little bit of crossfeed, but even better if you can use an HRTF. All right, so we have a single-ended. Wait, it does have a balanced output? Wow. Okay, so that is really cool. What is the difference between this and the old Zen can? So there was the Zen can signature. I'm wondering if this is just completely replacing the old Zen can, because if it has a balanced output, that gets me excited. So it is symmetrical after all. And you've got the 2 inputs, one for, I would assume, the DAC and another for the phono, so you could have the full setup. And maybe your phone or whatever. Cool. And yeah, so the DAC, so one thing you get if you were not just getting the Zen AIR DAC, which has a headphone output and it's good enough for doing everything, what you get with the AIR can is the balanced output. You have these extra analog circuits to add bass boost and soundstage. I think you click it 3 times to use both at the same time. And there's an input switch, which is great. Neat. I can't wait to try that out. And this one looks like it's kind of a charcoal. No, I guess more of a space gray. So it's not completely black, but it does have, like, realistically, it's about this shade. Obviously, as I make it more in shadow, it seems to shift, but yeah, that's about right for how I'm seeing it in real life. And we do have a bit of a golden knob. That's so cool. That's very cool. The buttons feel clicky. It's smooth, but not like buttery dampened like a camera lens, but it is smooth. There seems to be no click function on it, which is fine. Everything else is clearly labeled. 3 inputs, that's cool. And probably that USB power again. And I like the shape of it too, kind of like a wing, like a plane wing or something. Like we're seeing a wing bisected. Is this the same cables we saw with the Zen Can, I wonder? This is a mountain of USB connections. Okay, so yeah, we've got USB power again. Now, if this has the right resistance, you know, I think it's like 75 ohms for standard USB spec, but not everyone does that. I could be wrong. It could be 90. Check out here.audio. Kurawong over there knows all about what the standard spec is, so you don't have a weird thing. Conversation for another day. Also, he can explain it real well. Apparently, you can get MQA on the amp too, so that's a digital feature. So what I'm assuming is that they paid for MQA, so they put this card in every single box, which is, you know, you have to pay for it, so why not get the most benefit back? And then the last box is the Air Phono. I'm going to tilt you up a little bit. So for that, you want to have, you know, a turntable. Let's see if I can tighten this back down. But if you have a turntable and you don't have a phono amp, this one is not too expensive, and it works with both moving magnet and I actually forget what MC stands for. Moving current? Magnet current? I don't know. But we've got this kind of brown high res turntable phono preamp. It is symmetrical as well, so this must be balanced. Low noise, cool. It would be fun to try this out. Subsonic filter for warped records. And a 12-month warranty. Okay. So there's not going to be any volume knobs on this. This is just kind of like a power amp. And also phono amps, if you didn't know, vinyl actually doesn't have that much bass in it natively. Because if you have the large size grooves required for bass, you'd run out of space to fit enough songs to fit on one album, or you'd have to make the vinyl really huge. So they actually reduce the bass, and then a phono is supposed to kind of increase that with a tone control, like an EQ. But they've been doing it for years, analog. Analog input and output. I'm guessing that having both an input and an output means that you would run a digital DAC into this. That way you could kind of pass it through if you had an amp that only used one input. I don't know. This one's for the RCA. I am also noticing that it doesn't have like a grounding socket to ground the phono. Sometimes there's like a little like spade. It's like Y-shaped, and that would clip over a grounding pin to ground your turntable. And this, oh no, that's what this center bit is right here. So you'd fit that right around it, and then you'd be good. Input and output. So yeah, that would be from the turntable and output to your amp. I don't know why that was hard for me to understand before. Okay, and then the front is just kind of a plain box. There is a subsonic filter. We'll see what that does. And a nice dark appearance. Now, a cool thing about this match system is, I'm going to put this to the side. When you have this full stack, you know, it's kind of tailored to go together. So they have like a gradient of tones, and I think that's really cool. They kind of just have that shape. So this is what you would look at on like your computer desk, and it's relatively small. You know, here's my fat Sharpie. It's just a little wider than a Sharpie or a pen. Nice pen. Yeah, a little longer than a pen. And shorter. Less deep. But that... Man, I forgot to put everything away from the amp. That is cool. So again, where does this fall in the market? So there's a bunch of competitors. I think the most interesting competitors are from Shed Audio is often, like very, very often recommended. There was the Gray Stack. JDS Labs has some good ones. ODAC, the Objective 2 DAC is still around. But this is supposed to be a nice, more than super entry level quality full service stack, and I believe it's the same size if you got the Zen Stream, which I would do, you know, you could do instead of the Bluetooth streamer. But it also kind of helps you know where, you know, how to line things up. And you would connect, so you would do the DAC into the amp, and then the Bluetooth DAC into the other part of the input of the amp, or maybe into here. And then for your phono, you would output it into one of these. So I would save phono into here, this into here. That way you don't have things crossing. And then a very short RCA to 3.5 millimeter, you know, mini headphone jack over there. So that way you have wire going like that, nothing crossing over. And tons of USB power and one USB input. So if you were running this whole stack, you would be wiring five USB plugs. But that's okay with all the USB hubs that you can get these days. So that's very interesting. And that's the complete iPhone or iFi Zen AIR lineup, the new budget line from iFi. And I am going to test it out with my Sennheiser HD560S and my higher, 300 ohm resistance, slightly less sensitivity, HD 8XX, maybe my 800, but I like this one a little bit more on the daily, and see how it compares to a standard cheap connection. Those are $9. Each of these, I believe, is somewhere like 100, 150, but it's meant to compete with $100 models. So probably like 110, 120, and trying to do it better. Definitely thanks for watching. I'm going to look at all the messages, see if there's anyone here. We've got Humble that asked about PUBG, which is great. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm going to do a lot of listening and then a more organized style actual review. So thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye. See if I can end it.